From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tim Coco, and you're tuned correctly to 97.9 FM WHAV and the Open Mic Show. Tonight, very interesting night. We have James Tzitzon, who's coming in about a half hour or so, and he's going to talk about the a number of things, in fact. Grants that have been provided by the AHEPA, and I hope I'm saying that correctly, AHEPA. It's an acronym, Haverhill Foundation, to several groups, including the Steve Lyons Fund, Anchor of Hope, Diaper Bank, and others. And why he's here is because when I got information about the grants in the newsroom last week, I was pretty excited because we really have never talked about what replaced the old Hale Hospital on Buttonwoods Avenue in Haverhill. Now, I mean, maybe a whole generation has gone by, and some of you don't even know what the Hale Hospital is or don't know where it was. So that's where we fill in the gaps here, the history of many things. But before we do all of that, now it is August, which means we're taking September birthday wishes and anniversary wishes on the Albee Second Generation Italian Bakery Cake Contest. Rules are always very simple. Simply call 978-374-1900 and wish someone a happy birthday or a couple a happy anniversary. And you can even wish happy birthday to yourself. No rule against that. The only rule is you can't have two birthdays in a row 30 days apart, which shouldn't happen to most of you. So that should work. So 978-374-1900. Now, a couple of other things. We are going to have open lines until 7 o'clock, but obviously, we're having an election. We're not having a local preliminary election. That's because not enough candidates are running for city council, school committee, or the mayor's seat. In fact, Mayor Fiorentini, as WHAV reported last week, exclusively as it turns out, does not have an opponent. Now, Barry Ferguson had considered running for mayor, and he's decided to wait a bit and see what happens. It looks like there's going to be a fun future election down the road because City Councilor Tom Sullivan said he's not running for anything but council this year, but down the road he would like to be mayor. So that election down the road, whenever it is, promises to be an interesting one. But meanwhile, we are having a primary, and I hope you know the difference between primary and preliminary. We are having a primary election in October for state representative. This is a special election to fill the 3rd Essex State Representative seat that had been filled by Representative Brian Dempsey, chairman of the Ways and Means Committee. Brian has plans to step down in September to join ML Strategies in Boston. Now, we have a Republican and 2 Democrats in that race. Republican Sean Toohey, who is currently sitting on the school committee and is running now exclusively for state rep. He had considered running for city council until Brian Dempsey decided to resign. Now on the Democratic side, we have Andy Vargas, Haverhill City Councilor, and Paul Magliacchetti, another school committee member. Now, about my question, I don't know if everyone knows, but a primary election is when a political party uses the election to narrow the number of people running, narrow to one, for their party. And a preliminary is for when it's a nonpartisan election. Now, Haverhill City Council, Haverhill Mayor, Haverhill School Committee do not run as political parties. They did actually 100 years ago, and I don't know when that stopped. Maybe one of you knows when political parties ended at the local level. We had all kinds of political parties back in the day. There was the Prohibitionist Party in Haverhill, and I bet, I'm not putting him on the spot necessarily, but I bet David Goudswood knows more about the political parties way back when in the city of Haverhill. But perhaps you have a comment on the election season. 978-374-1900. 978-374-1900. Again, if you're just joining us on 97.9 FM WHAV, or perhaps you're watching the Open Mic Show on your Facebook news feed, where we are live in HD, high definition, or perhaps you're watching at WHAV.tv on your computer or smartphone. Perhaps you're listening on an app like TuneIn, or listening at WHAV.net. But however you're doing it, we have a guest coming. James Tzitzon is going to be coming. He's a retired Massachusetts State Trooper. He's a past Deputy Director of the city's Emergency Management Agency, served for 10 years. And now presently AHEPA Chapter member for 15 years, president of the chapter for the past 10. And he's going to be talking about some grants that foundation has made, but we're also going to tap him while he's here to learn a little more about those apartments that replaced the old Hale Hospital on Buttonwoods Avenue. Perhaps you find this interesting. I'll give you a very quick, off the top of my head, summary of that site. Back in 1931, Hale Hospital was a private hospital, and there were several in Haverhill. There was the Hale Hospital, and there was the Gale Hospital. There's a couple of others. Again, maybe some of our friends who are into history want to chime in on that, but there were several. But the Hale Hospital became insolvent, and the city of Haverhill took over the Hale Hospital, got into the hospital business, and there were a number of buildings on Buttonwoods Avenue. One is the Contagious Hospital, which was separately sold off. It's not part of the other apartment project, but it's a nice looking building, and it was sold off separately. Then there were 3 other buildings, and the city built a kind of a fake facade across all 3 in the early 1960s. Again, maybe some of you know more about this. I expect that you do. Built a facade on Buttonwoods Avenue, kind of tying these buildings together with kind of a modern look. And but all for naught, because the city found that the old Hale Hospital just could not meet the needs of the current times. And the late 70s, much talk was made about building a new hospital. And it went through several mayoral administrations, and among them, I think Mayor Katsaris and Mayor Vathaly, and finally Mayor Bill Ryan signed the documents to build a new Hale Hospital on Lincoln Avenue. And that was a big discussion about what site that, I covered all this as a reporter, big discussion about where that should be. There's some people talked about putting it near 495, which some think might have been better marketing. Some talked about putting it downtown behind the parking garage to bring massive traffic to downtown. That seems to have had merit, but whatever reason, they chose the Lincoln Avenue site back across from the stadium. And as we all know how the story ends, the hospital lost a lot of money, as most municipal hospitals had, and it was sold for very cheap money, actually, and it still exists. First, Essent bought it, and it became Merrimack Valley Hospital. and then Stewart Hospitals bought it, and it's now currently a part of Holy Family Hospital. Holy Family of Methuen has a whole history of its own, Bon Secours Hospital, but now they're actually a single hospital with two campuses, so there's one license for both. And so, back to Buttonwoods Avenue, quite a bit happened there. The building became boarded up. A developer, if my memory serves me correctly, it was Juan Cofield, had proposed to buy the building, convert it to apartments, but for whatever reason that never happened. The building became abandoned. It became, we're talking 30 years ago even, but it became a drug house of sorts, abandoned with squatters and so on, and finally had to be torn down. Another big expense to the city. But in any event, wonderful things have happened since. That's why you haven't heard about it, because sometimes good news doesn't get the coverage that bad news does. So we're going to learn about that. Okay, let's work in one phone call before the break, and we've got several piled up. I apologize. We're going to get one call on. Chris, let's take it from your side. You are on the Open Mic Show.
Ready for the September birthdays.
Brian's always the first with September birthdays. And now, frankly, the word September scares me. It's like, didn't get enough done this summer. It's already August 7th. What are we going to do? But Brian is going to wish people happy birthday.
Well, it's going by too fast for me. I say we cancel winter.
I second that nomination. All in favor? Opposed? It passes. Winter is canceled in Haverhill. Okay. Let's see if they'll honor that, whoever they are.
Yeah, right.
All right. Who do we have for birthdays?
Well, we'll start off with Yaya, whose first name is Effie.
Okay.
She won last year.
Effie won last year. Okay, it's been more than 30 days, so Effie is eligible. Effie's birthday, is it, did you say?
Yep.
When is it?
September 1st.
September 1st. Okay, Effie, happy birthday. And you have others too?
I do, but I'm giving Chris just a couple at a time.
Oh, you're gonna spread out your notoriety throughout the month, Brian. Is that right?
Yep.
Well, don't forget, because you'll have people that are waiting for birthday cakes that you never get around to nominate. So.
Well, I won't forget.
All right. You've become the most prolific person entering the contest on behalf of others. Before you, Marcel used to have quite a few, but I think Marcel has such a big book, and we used to give the cakes out weekly rather than monthly.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I think that he doesn't know how to pick among the options, but maybe that's not the case at all. Certainly, it would be nice to give them away weekly. It'd be nice to give them away daily, but that's asking a lot of a sponsor. So, all right, anything else on your mind? Do you remember the old Hale Hospital?
I do.
All right.
In fact, in 1980, I was a patient there.
Oh, okay.
And my room had a window facing south, and it was right across the river from that foghorn.
Foghorn? You mean a Haverhill paperboard?
People, they don't remember it.
Haverhill paperboard or what?
Yeah.
Okay, no, I do, sort of. So you were awakened every day when the shift changed, right?
Well, yeah. I was already awake anyway in there.
I was there in several times, but in 1963 to have my tonsils out. It's among my earliest memories.
Well, I still have mine, but I used to visit my father in there, and different ones. I remember that. I knew where everything was back then. And then I remember the Benson Hospital on Summer Street.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't think of all the names. There was the Hale, the Gale, which was up by
Main Street.
Yeah, not Brockton, right? Can't remember right now, but the fire alarm headquarters took over part of it later.
Across from that, it would be across from Marshland Street or Hamilton Ave.
Hamilton Avenue, right? All right, and then but Benson, I don't know that I remember Benson well, if at all. What was Benson? Was it a regular acute?
It was Benson Hospital, and I had a relative there, a quiet elderly gentleman who had, I think it was a spinal cord injury, and he lived there, and his sister, my great aunt, would go up and see to him. Probably saw to a bunch of other people there too.
I wonder if some of those hospitals today might be called nursing homes.
Perhaps.
But yeah, the Hale was acute care and always had been. And of course, we had others who started here in health care, like Mr. Leahy, of the Leahy Clinic fame.
Yep.
So, but some interesting stuff. All right. Well, thank you for sharing your memories. Thank you for getting your birthday cake entry in. Same for everyone else.
I got one more birthday entry that I gave to Chris, and that's for Diana.
All right. So we're doing another one tonight. Okay, Diana.
Yep.
All right.
A couple of years ago.
What's that?
A couple of years ago, she won.
Oh, all right. So she didn't get it last year. You forgot to put her name in.
Oh, I put it in.
All right. So.
Put it in, but yeah, you won.
You know, folks, I've said this before. The rules allow this, so what you need to do is send a holiday card to Brian, and make sure he knows your birthday. You know, you can be subtle about it. Hey, Brian, Charlie here. Oh, by the way, my birthday is September whatever.
Yep, that's subtle enough.
And I don't know who you are, Brian, but no, you don't leave that out of the card. Brian will have a hint if you do that. All right, then.
Yeah, and I'll get off so that other people can get through.
Okay,
but,
what's Diana's birthday?
15th, I believe.
Yeah, the 1st and the 15th. Some people get paychecks like that.
Yeah, true.
All right.
I'm trying to test my memory, and if Safety Officer Dave is out there, and he comes from the neighborhood, I was trying to think of some of the businesses on the corners on Water Street back in the day. And I can remember a lot of them, but I can't remember, say, what was on the west corner at the bottom of School Street.
Oh, west corner, bottom of School Street. Safety Officer
Dave.
Dave.
Of gas stations back in those days.
Yeah, probably. There's probably still some contamination under there. But,
well, maybe. Well, some people have to address it, and others don't.
That's right. Safety Officer Dave lived on what, Carlton Court?
Carlton Court, yeah.
Which, again, you know, our younger listeners and even some of the older ones don't know anything about these missing streets in our downtown, or that there was once a vibrant Federalist building district in the area where Market Basket and Choice Fitness is now downtown.
Yep.
Oh, yes. Well, I can keep going
we
there.
Had Dr. Livingston's building that was taken away.
What's that? Myron, wasn't it? The mulberry bushes in front of his house ended up at the Bradford Fire Station.
Was that right?
Yes, I learned that from Fred Moriarty years ago.
Doggies. I didn't know that.
See, there's always little-known facts here on the
And
Open
I
Mic Show.
remember him, but I'll move it along so other people can get through.
All right.
And I'll be calling next week with more birthdays.
All right, there's Brian. We're going to have Brian do some IDs for us. We don't need to do it yet, but do a legal ID for us.
You're listening to WHAV 97.9 FM LP Haverhill.
Close enough. All right. Thank you very much, Brian.
Well, what did I miss?
Well, actually, you have too much in there. The FCC likes the station call letters and the city as the legal ID. You can put stuff before or after, as a lot of stations do, but it's a WHAV LP Haverhill. And we're working to dump the LP because it's misleading. We have a great signal, and that LP confuses people, but we'll have news on that coming up.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. No, we're not dumping the station. We're just dumping two letters that confuse people. What's that?
I look forward to hearing about AHEPA.
All right, great. Is that how you pronounce it? I forgot to ask that one question.
Yeah, I believe that's the way it's pronounced. When I was a kid, I used to walk past the old AHEPA church, because that's what we called it when we walked by it. You know, where the Joseph's Bakery started out in the corner of Franklin and Winter?
Yes.
And I remember a building there that said that, but I didn't know it was AHEPA. I said AHEPA all the time.
I just said it tonight, so it's AHEPA. Well, Jim Tzitzon is going to correct us on this. But anyway, I have to take a break, but thank you very much, Brian.
Okay, Tim, I'll be in touch.
All right, thanks so much. Take care. All right, we're going to take a brief break, and then we'll have the next caller. Please hold on, and we'll get you right on the air in just a moment here on the Open Mic.
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
This is listener-supported community radio, WHAV. WHAV is the Merrimack Valley's Pacifica affiliate.
Catch the wave!
Hi, Tom Bergeron here. I started at WHAV in 1972. And look, WHAV's still here, but it won't be if you don't help support it. Go to WHAV.net. Become a contributor. Keep us going.
From the Edwin B. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
About 8 minutes before 7 o'clock here on 97.9 FM, WHAV, and the Open Mic Show. Let's go right to the caller. You are on the Open Mic Show.
Funny story about the Hale Hospital.
This is the historian, David Goudswood. See, I'm always afraid that someday he's going to get mad at me for calling out his name when I need to be rescued on a historic point.
It's all right. I know where you live.
Yeah, I know you do. That's the problem.
1925-26, they'd already shut down the Hale.
Oh, 1925-26, they already had.
Yeah, and the influenza outbreak we had that year was so bad, they were actually starting to seriously consider opening it up again because they didn't have any rooms left at the Hale.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So there's your tidbit. To answer your other question, 1908.
Political parties?
1908 is when they eliminated the partisan primary.
See, David is doing a twofer here. Two different historic points. We had to make him look all over the century for this, and he still does it.
Well, that one was actually easy because it comes in because of what we call a nonpartisan primary today is not what originally a nonpartisan primary was.
Oh, now you have to explain that.
Yes, I thought I might. The way it was set up originally
is whoever was the strongest guy beat up the other guys and became the elected official.
Surprisingly close.
Oh, no. Okay, tell us about this.
Under this system, the two highest candidates were the only ones that went on the ballot. You could still write in somebody else, but it was basically down to two people.
All right, so it's kind of a runoff of sorts.
Yeah, it was a top two get-off. And you still see runoffs in some of the states, but that is what a nonpartisan primary was. And the reason they did it in Haverhill, and I can tell you a name and you'll know why, John C. Chase.
Yes, I was actually thinking, because we've done stories on WHAV. You can find them at WHAV.net on the Haverhill Heritage Series, which, of course, David Goudswood is a major contributor to. But, yes, we had a socialist mayor, John Chase. We had a prohibitionist members of the council. I think Nathaniel Rand. I think I wrote that, and I don't remember.
I believe you did.
I think he was the prohibitionist party. Very interesting things in those days. But now, tell me how this connects.
Well, basically, you no longer have third, fourth parties. You're down to the two big ones, which, of course, Republican, Democrat. It's designed to ensure that your big names are getting it. Now, it doesn't work as well as it could because, well, let's face it, there you go. You've got a socialist winning when there was already a Republican and a Democrat on it anyway. But if I remember my history, and in this case I'm really tippy-toeing around, I think the Democrats split the ballot.
Oh, okay.
Which is why the socialist won.
Oh, I see. Kind of reminds me of other elections. Oh, that's interesting.
It do. But what's fascinating is this was not something that the state of Massachusetts did. This is something that the city did. Nebraska, North Dakota, Tennessee, all these were states that were passing this law about the nonpartisan primary. Haverhill itself, the city, had a charter amendment passed through the state to get that particular rule in place. So they were the first and probably one of the few that were using the specific nonpartisan system.
You know, you just gave me an idea. I think this might be a Haverhill Heritage Series story that I might work on. It seems to me, my memory tells me, but it could be wrong, the Haverhill, it's kind of strange that Haverhill would do this, but then again, it's Haverhill. I think we had
Careful, that's my line.
I think we had a bicameral city council once.
Well, at that point, I believe we were what's referred to as a commission-governed city, which means it's aldermen.
Right. I know we've had aldermen because that was in place in the late 40s, where basically you elect department heads and they become the city council.
Yeah.
But seems to me, we actually, or maybe it was just a ballot question. I very, very foggy on this, but again, someone may know. I believe we once had this rather strange bicameral legislature in Haverhill.
Well, was there not also at one point a petition to change the number of city council seats to force representation in some of the outlying neighborhoods?
No, actually, I think over time it has gone back and forth because it seems to me, and again, these are great questions, David. Again, I think Bradford, they added a Ward 7 after the merger of Bradford and Haverhill, or the annexation, and I believe they just tacked on a seat, but I have to double-check that because that would mean we had an even number before that, which would have been awkward.
Well, it's open seating right now on the council, isn't it?
That's right.
So it doesn't matter if Bradford has 1 or 5 candidates.
No, but back then it was added on as a district, and it had, I believe, we had some form of ward-based representation, and I think we had a much larger council, too.
Well, that would be selectmen then, not aldermen. We went through a number of different governments there for a while.
Well, I mean, after 1870, I think we had city councils. I think selectmen was purely a town thing, but again, good questions. I have to say, last week we had a story, or 2 weeks ago, about the blackboard being uncovered in City Hall from the former Haverhill High School.
Yes, please tell me they're going to just cover it up and protect it again.
Well, I don't know. Good question. And I'll have to check and see if it's still there. But interestingly, a number of commenters on WHAV website had pointed out a couple of things. One, that the old Haverhill City Hall, which was the old Haverhill Town Hall, was torn down, of course, during urban renewal, but that another town hall was on the same lot that only survived about a dozen years because Haverhill grew so fast that the new town hall had to be torn down within a dozen years.
I don't think so. I think that original one was actually on Winter Street. It may have been the same lot, but I think it was on the Winter Street side of it. Well,
yeah, and of course all that land was configured differently because of the way the streets went before urban renewal. They survived, 400 years of history, only to 300 years of history, only to be ruined. But anyway,
well, my mother-in-law was the head of the Haverhill Growth Alliance and basically the spearheader of the, is that a word? The Washington Street Federal Historic District.
That's right.
And as a result of that, I have got material down here that does not belong in Florida. It belongs in Haverhill. And I'm talking things like one of the last surviving Jacobean-legged mahogany tables from the first public library.
The stuff that they didn't care about at the time.
No, and I've got a 12-foot long bench from the railroad station, the original one. And I actually have a colored window from a house on Vestry Street.
Ah, Vestry, another street that's missing.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, we're out of time, David, but we should pursue this. Maybe you can tell us what you'd be, how you would think one of these transactions might occur, whether it be the Buttonwoods Museum or the special collections at the library. Or
well, that's something we'll talk about off the air. That way there's no label suits and so on.
All right. Well, thank you very much, David.
Talk to you later, Tim.
Real help. Thanks for the history help.
Yep.
All right, folks, 7:01 here at WHAV LP Haverhill. A guy worked in the legal ID. We're going to take a break for local news. Then we'll be back with Jim Tzitzon, and we'll learn about, let's see if Brian's pronunciation is correct, AHEPA. And we'll be back after that.
Open mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 7:03.
WHAV LP Haverhill.
Here's what's happening in local news. One of 3 men arrested early Thursday night on heroin-related drug charges in Atkinson, New Hampshire, was arrested on similar charges last month in Haverhill. Timothy Howell, 30, of Ashland, New Hampshire, was arrested just before 7 p.m. Thursday by Atkinson police and charged with possession of heroin with intent to sell, transporting drugs in a motor vehicle, and an outstanding warrant for possession of drugs with intent to sell. As WHAV reported earlier, Howe was also arrested on drug charges early in July by Haverhill police on Arlington Street. He and Brett Bolig, 34, of Laconia, New Hampshire, were charged with 2 counts each of possession of drugs with intent to distribute and conspiracy to violate drug laws. At the time, Deputy Police Chief Anthony Hawk told WHAV the arrest came after police received reports of suspicious activity in the neighborhood. Besides Howe, arrested by Atkinson police after a routine car inspection violation, were Jamie D'Alessandro, 34, of Plymouth, New Hampshire, charged with possession of heroin with intent to sell, and an outstanding warrant for possession of heroin. And Jacob Spencer, 33, of Ashland, New Hampshire, charged with possession of methamphetamine. In today's back-to-school countdown, Haverhill school administrators have spent the summer dealing with the logistics of combining 9 grades, kindergarten through 8th, at Hunking School with more than 1,000 students. Among the questions they grappled with, what is the best way to handle starting times in the Hunking's 2 schools in 1 design? Principal Shannon Nolan said the decision was made to have students in both the lower, that's K through 4, and upper, 5 through 8, start school at the same time. Hunking school day will be 8:30 a.m. to 2:45 p.m., which coincides with the school day in the city's other middle schools. Haverhill's elementary school day is normally 9 a.m. to 3:15 p.m. Over the last 2 summers, about 24 Northern Essex Community College students have trapped and banded great black-backed and herring gulls and collected blood samples at the Shoals Marine Laboratory on Appledore Island, helped in part with $10,000 each year from the Verizon Foundation. Under the direction of natural science professor Sarah Korchesny, a trained veterinarian, students leave the classroom, enter nature, and bring back data to biology and lab science students. We know that allowing students to experiment, question, and practice science themselves is the best way to stimulate and maintain their interest in science, not only as a subject, but as a verb, said Korchesny. She became involved when Julie Ellis, the ecologist who founded the Gull Banding Project, convinced Korchesny to co-teach a class on seabirds and later band gulls. Last year, Verizon's grant paid for GPS technology to tag individual birds to track their movements. This year's grant pays for the purchase of additional tags and a base station used to monitor the individual seagulls throughout the year. In order to be prepared for jobs of the future, it's essential for every student to have access to experiential learning, which is why the Verizon Foundation supports programs and engages students in science, technology, engineering, and math education, said Verizon Foundation spokesperson Stephanie Lee. The Plaster, New Hampshire Town Clerk's Office is adjusting its hours next week to accommodate a computer server upgrade. There'll be expanded hours Thursday, August 17th from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., while the office will be closed completely Friday, August 18th. In fact, Town Hall will have no telephone or computer service Friday because of the computer conversion. Certain other offices, however, will remain minimally staffed Friday for providing printed documents or electronic communications. The Town Clerk's Office will be open as usual Monday, August 14th from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., Tuesday and Wednesday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., Thursday from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., and closed Friday. Remember, WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source. There's always more at WHAV.net. In the Edwin B. Johnson newsroom, this is Tim Coco.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Rebecca Foster. The U.S. city of Chicago is suing the Trump administration over a clash related to undocumented immigrants. North Korea has vowed to retaliate after the UN slapped fresh sanctions on it over the weekend. And a U.S. aircraft that crashed, leaving 3 U.S. Marines presumed dead, has been located underwater off Australia's east coast.
WAVE weather.
I'm WHAV meteorologist Gary Best with WAVE weather. Periods of rain for the night, low temperature down near 60. Rain ending early Tuesday, then some afternoon sun, warming up to 74 to 78. Clear at night of around 55 to 60. Sunny skies Wednesday and Thursday, nice then, dry air, high temperature, low 80s. This is Gary Best. Your next WAVE weather in 30 minutes.
The Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom turns out local programs every day and night. Tune in for local news, community spotlight, and the open mic show. 97.9 WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source. There's always more at WHAV.net. 97.9 FM WHAV.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
And we're back here on the Open Mic Show with Jim Tzitzon of AHEPA. AHEPA is the way to pronounce it.
Correct.
And now you are a retired Mass State Trooper. When did you serve? And thank you for serving.
Well, I served from 1984 up until 2002 when I was officially retired because of a motor vehicle accident.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
So it was on Valentine's Day, and I'm still looking for the public to provide me with some box of chocolates. Since,
hey, folks, it's the wrong month, but box of chocolates. It's Jim Tzitzon. That's great. Oh, by the way, I suppose I should mention this. I was going to tell listeners about it, but I'll tell you about it. We're doing a special coming up later this month called, and you think it's cliched when I say Dog Days of Summer, but this is going to be a salute to our canine heroes. And I don't know if you've ever worked with any of the canines.
No, actually, I had one training session with them, and I took a step to the rear and let another brave guy go in and,
They had a demonstration of last week's National Night Out, sponsored by Haverhill Police at Swayze Field. But we'll do more. And as I looked into it, I learned that there are Dogs assigned to the fire marshal's office that can sniff out accelerants.
Correct.
And these aren't just attack dogs either. They're dogs that
they're
find
specifically trained to seek out chemicals that you and I wouldn't be able to identify or smell.
Right. And then other dogs will find perhaps someone who has dementia, who's wandered off.
Correct.
Might be lost or a missing child. That's coming up. The Dog Days of Summer, WHAV salute to our canine heroes, but I'm getting off subject already. See how easy that is? All right. Now, you are also past deputy director of Haverhill's Emergency Management Agency?
Correct. Way back when it was called Civil Defense. So those who may remember, Frank Hogan was the director.
I was just going to say, Frank Hogan Insurance.
Correct. And I met with him up in his office, actually, and gave him my resume. He immediately assigned me to do medical planning and evacuation for the old Hale Hospital. So
wow,
that's
come full circle here, don't
Oh
we?
yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
It's a small world and everything.
The most fascinating thing about him is when he retired, I said to him, "What's it going to feel like, being retired?" And his comment was, "I won't have to worry about the sirens in the nighttime." And I thought that was phenomenal. Oh. That was a great thing. I've always remember that
name from the past too. I remember. And I can't remember what kinds of stories we covered, but I have a feeling that some of them included making sure those signs were up. And I think there's still one building downtown, unless they finally removed it, that still had the what do they call those? The shelters.
Bomb shelters.
The bomb shelters.
Yeah.
With the radiation symbol.
Correct.
Oh, did you have to deal with any of those?
Well, they were, that by that time, when I was involved, by that time, they were more or less fading off into the distance. So it wasn't anything that...
Now, was it true that there was, 50-year-old crackers in tins and
Correct.
Water? All that was still there?
Sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess that rumor was true.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that...
Was there any peanut butter for those crackers? No. All right. Well, that's very interesting. Now, AHEPA. I'm going to give Phil Brown credit on the air because he sent me press information on the recent donations. And just for those of you who might have missed it, it's still at WHAV.net online. But there were donations to the Steve Lyons Fund, Anchor of Hope Diaper Bank, and there's a couple of others I think we're still getting to. And let's see. Haverhill Inner City
Boxing. Correct.
Was another one.
Right.
And we'll talk about that, but what threw me is that the organization dates back to 1922. Is that right?
That's the national AHEPA.
Okay, that's
the national AHEPA was started in 1922, and 2 years later, Haverhill started.
What does AHEPA stand for?
The American Hellenic Educational Progressive Association.
All right. And Haverhill started, 1924?
1924, January 1924. They received the charter from the National AHEPA, and it's been straightforward since.
All right. And then my memory is foggy on this because, I knew of Exchange Club and, Rotary Club and Kiwanis Club. You guys perform some of the same functions, is that right?
Correct, yes. We're a fraternal organization that is doing our bits, for society in a sense. We're ferreting out certain things and taking on certain actions that any fraternal organization would do. One of the things that our organization did way back when is they contributed, one of the first organizations nationally to contribute, ethnic organizations, to contribute to the Statue of Liberty when they were doing that.
Really?
Yeah, and then the Ellis Island, and they came forward with that. And even further back, the AHEPA took on war bond sales. And so they've been very active throughout in the interest of the public and our country. So
that's fascinating. But okay, all of the service clubs are great, but very few build housing. How did that come about?
Okay. All right. As our chapter evolved over the years.
And you're AHEPA 39?
AHEPA Acropolis Chapter 39 of Haverhill, correct. Number 39
and
is
you're wearing a shirt for our television viewers to show that. Okay.
National organizations have national conventions. And one of our individuals, our elder gentleman who's since passed a long time ago, Nick Cardis, went to one of the conventions. And a group of men Greek men got together, and they recognized that they were all getting old, and where are they going to live when they get older? So a couple of them come up with to check out the government and found the 202 HUD program, housing program, where you would receive a grant. In exchange, you would build, a housing complex with the help of HUD, and after 40 years, owning it outright. So in Haverhill, they came back, and he met with the rest of the membership, and they all got together and made it a goal to seek property. The Buttonwoods Avenue location wasn't the primary property.
Oh, was
the first focus. No, I cannot recall which was, but it was another place.
The Buttonwoods property was actually tied up, and I remembered the name, and you may have heard it in our lobby. It was Juan Cofield, and I can't remember the name of the organization, but I think he was from Cambridge. And his organization outbid some other organization for the property when it came up for bid, but then couldn't perform.
Right.
And when you took over, was there still a building on the lot?
Yes.
Okay.
And the Hale, when the elder gentleman that I'm talking about, that has all since passed away, got together with the city and they worked out an agreement to purchase the property, the building had to be torn down and started from scratch and built from scratch. And Scott Industries actually over here was the builder.
Oh, okay.
Of the new facility.
Joe Scott.
And quite frankly, in traveling as a member of the board of directors for the National Housing Corporation, when I go out and see other other properties, our property holds, is second to none for the quality of work in that building. So that's
Joe.
That's a great thing, and the guys who built it. A couple of our guys are very stickler for details, so I'm sure Joe
I got
had
that
some
impression from your website. I'll have a few more questions about that. We actually have to take a quick break for Community Spotlight, and then we'll get back. Matter of fact, you guys are always welcome to take advantage of our Community Spotlight. You have an event coming up, a fundraiser, a charitable item. We'll run those things on the air.
Good to know.
Good
to know. Yes.
But we'll take a break now for Community Spotlight. We'll be back with more of the Open Mic Show and Jim Tzitzon in just a minute.
Open Mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
Last year, WHAV helped local nonprofits by airing nearly 10,000 community spotlight messages. WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source, and it's always free.
Catch the wave!
Hi, Tom Bergeron here. I started at WHAV in 1972, and look, WHAV's still here, but it won't be if you don't help support it. Go to WHAV.net. Become a contributor. Keep us going.
Community Spotlight.
The Career Center of Lowell and Valley Works Career Center, along with the Lowell Spinners, invite local employers to take part in the 6th Annual Job Fair at Lerletcher Park in Lowell, Tuesday, August 16th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Participating employers will have the opportunity to set up on the ball field and concourse to meet with job seekers and enjoy many perks, including Spinners game tickets. To participate, contact Louie and Cloyd of Valley Works Career Center of Haverhill at 978-241-4737. Someone you know is on WHAV. To submit or read your own nonprofit announcements, click on the Contact tab at whav.net or email news@whav.net. In the Edwin V. Johnson newsroom, this is Robin Fancher.
WHAV Open Mic!
From the Edwin V. Johnson newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
And we're back on the Open Mic Show with Jim Tzitzon. And what is your title with the chapter?
I am the president of the chapter.
You are the president of the
Correct.
chapter.
I am also the president of the owner corporation of the apartment building.
Okay. And, of course, I imagine for legal reasons you have to set up separate entities.
Well, there are three entities.
Okay, good. Tell us what they are.
The first entity, and where everything sprung from, was the AHEPA chapter, the AHEPA Acropolis Chapter 39. That is the one that was founded in 1924 in January. And then in 1995, as I talked before, the gentlemen came back from the conventions and they got together, and part of the thing was that they had to set up a corporation. So that corporation was established, to oversee the building, according to HUD, and that's an important component because that's separate of the chapter, but it's associated.
No, I understand that. I imagine HUD had rules for that. So.
Correct, right. And then there's the third entity, which is the AHEPA Haverhill Foundation, which is another entity which I am not officially involved with.
Okay.
Because the money that organization receives comes back from the AHEPA housing.
Okay, I wondered about that. I'm glad you clarified that. So that is the source of grant money that went to some of these groups, like Haverhill Inner City Boxing, Anchor of Hope Diaper Bank, and the Steve Lyons Fund, which is having its big event at Winnicott Castle Saturday, August 26th. That's coming up fast. Right. Summer is coming to a close fast, isn't it?
Yes, it certainly is.
All right. Now, about the I had the right person here then. So about the housing, how many units are there?
There were 54 apartments.
All right. Now, what are they, one-bedroom, two-bedroom?
One-bedroom apartments.
All one-bedroom?
Correct.
So you're not adding to the school population?
No. They were created because there was only one housing development in the whole country that has, separate two-bedroom facilities, and that's out in Arizona. As crazy as it is. So the single bedroom unit was much easier to handle and to do. So that's why we went at the same time, and many other, and also HUD didn't really like the idea of the two bedrooms because what it did was it was for the elderly and low income, and it didn't want family members moving in because that would destroy the whole intent of the program.
Well, that makes sense. So this way it takes away the incentive to say, well, move in for a few weeks. It turns into a few months or a few years like it does at other places. What now? How does one get housing? I keep hearing that we have an affordability issue, that Haverhill isn't building enough housing. Now, someone argued that that's not the case, but the state says we're not building enough, so that's driving rents up. How do you determine the rent, and how do you pick the residents?
Well, there are strict guidelines for occupancy, and they're all HUD-generated requirements. We have a management company that was hired by the owner corporation through the AHEPA National Housing Corporation to oversee the day-to-day operations. We have a property manager in place. We also have a full-time maintenance person, and we have a part-time 20-hour-a-week social services coordinator. So everything is covered. Now, an individual seeking and there have been many people who have thought they couldn't, get into that program. The only way is if you ask, you'll know. And
you have to ask.
Fill out an application. You fill out an application, and if you're eligible for it, you get in line.
There's an on-site office, and you can fill out an application?
Yes, there is, yes.
Is there any other way? Is there online, or you have to go visit?
Well, you would call her and make an appointment with the property manager, Irene Rhodes. She does a great job, very personable. She'll tell you, and she'll set up, an appointment, and you go in, fill out the paperwork, and you get on the waiting list.
Now, you mentioned before seniors and low income. Are they mutually exclusive? It can be seniors and or low income, or it has to be low income seniors?
It's basically low-income seniors.
Okay.
Yeah, basically.
All right, and then any other criteria? I mean, there is a certain amount of finances that you can have up to, and each year it increases up a little bit. And I imagine that's a standard federal guideline.
Correct. Yes.
Public Housing Authority uses it too, type thing.
Right. Correct. Right.
All right, so we have that, and to kind of bring our two organizations, or three or four, I'm loose. Actually, before we do that, you mentioned the National
AHEPA Housing Corporation.
So this is something that
we have 4,700 units nationwide in 21 states. AHEPA is probably one of the largest, or actually is the largest housing corporation or organization to house people throughout the world. It's over 100,000 people that we have.
Really?
And I was surprised to hear that figure at the last meeting that I went to, and I didn't realize that myself, in all honesty. So
it must have been of great help to the local chapter that you had a national structure that knew about these things.
What it was is, and everybody was doing their own thing, and and it was decided to bring everybody together under an umbrella. So as a president, I sit automatically on the board of the National Housing Corporation.
I see.
So I go every year to a meeting, and we get the latest information and review as to where things are going. Because it got so tedious, the National Housing Corporation created a management company called the AHEPA Management Company to run our day-to-day operations. So I really don't have any input in what she does.
Okay.
As crazy as it seems. And that's a great way, because now she has a job to do, and I don't interfere.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, because I imagine there are smaller organizations, and maybe even the local one, where if you had to do day-to-day, you'd lose all your members because they couldn't keep up with it.
Well, none of that. I mean, people tend to want to abuse and, try to throw their weight around a little bit, and this way it keeps everything on an even keel. So she does her job, and of course I interface with her on certain things, on different projects or things that have to be done, but at the same time there's a chain of command that I go through if I want to address something that she's doing.
Okay.
So
it makes sense. Makes sense. Also, I imagine it keeps the politics out of it too in some communities.
Right.
Now, to bring some of our organizations all together as a package, you have a group, according to your website, that provides cookouts for the residents.
Well, that's the combination of a HEPA 39 Inc. Board of Directors and the chapter membership. So a lot of the guys chip in and come down, and we provide a cookout in the summertime for the residents. So those who want to come will come. We do the hot dogs, hamburgers.
Who would turn it down?
Well, some people choose not to come, but that's their loss.
Oh, sure.
So we have a lot of fun, a great time, and then again at Christmas time we do something for the residents as well. We have a sit-down meal, complete with the fireplace on the TV screen, and it's a great time, and like we said, it's just keeping us in touch with them and them in touch with us. So it's
well, that's it's almost unheard of for a landlord, and that's basically what you're talking about. The landlord provides a party.
Correct.
With free food.
Well, we like to have, we like to keep people happy, and at the same time, we like to see who's living, there, and if there's any problems that they don't want to tell the management, they'll tell us. So everything has its checks and balances.
And it works pretty well.
Works pretty well.
Can whisper in your ear that the carpeting needs to be replaced, or why don't you add a full liquor license to our apartment? You can turn that down. Maybe I could help with that if it turned out. All right, but anyway, let's take Chris, take a break for local weather, and then we're going to come back and talk more about the foundation and all of the groups it helps. We'll be back with more of the Open Mic Show in just a minute.
Open Mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 7:30.
Are you listening to WHAV on cable television? If so, join WHAV in thanking the board, staff, and members of your local public access channel.
Learn more about the people behind the stories on Your Hometown with Mark LeMay. From Greater Haverhill and the Merrimack Valley, Your Hometown is a great way to wrap up the week, hearing the stories from the people behind the stories. Your Hometown with Mark LeMay, Friday nights at 6:30 on 97.9 FM WHAV.
Wave weather.
I'm WHAV meteorologist Gary Bess with wave weather. Periods of rain for the night, low temperature down near 60. Rain ending early Tuesday, then some afternoon sun, warming up to 74 to 78. Clear at night around 55 to 60. Sunny skies Wednesday and Thursday, nice then, dry air, high temperature, low 80s. This is Gary Best. Your next wave weather in 30 minutes.
WHAV Open Mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Welcome back to the Open Mic Show, 732 on 97.9 FM, WHAV. We're here with Jim Tzitzon, and we're talking about AHEPA 39. We're talking about AHEPA 39 Foundation. I'm already mixing up all the names.
Well, you had the three entities. You had the AHEPA Acropolis Chapter 39.
I keep forgetting the Acropolis.
And then you had the AHEPA 39 Inc., which is the owner corporation of the apartments.
54 units.
And then out of that, we created the AHEPA Haverhill Foundation, which is a completely separate entity, which takes money back from the corporation to channel it out to the community to promote the name of AHEPA.
That is wonderful. So tell us about, now we just reported, and I think we got a few more that are coming, but we just reported three, Haverhill Inner City Boxing, Anchor of Hope Diaper Bank, and the Steve Lyons Fund, which is putting on an event honoring Steve Lyons, who passed away in 2007, and that event takes place at Winnikinny Castle on August 26th. Now, over the years, you must have done quite a few of these.
Correct.
And so, what kinds of things do you look for, and what criteria?
Well, one of the most important things is that an organization to apply has to be a 501c3 per the IRS in order for us to grant for them to receive the money, as crazy as it is. And in rare instances, if someone has a problem, the foundation can go out and make a small contribution to that individual. Say if someone has a family crisis, things like that can be done.
And I suppose some organization can use what they call a fiscal sponsor as well to take care of that.
Sure.
Now, so this is funded by, I guess, if you were any other landlord, these would be profits. But these are, and I imagine they're smaller than any other landlord because you're a nonprofit to begin with.
Correct.
So, you put this money aside and it goes back to the community. I mean, you build housing for people, you take care of great needs in the community, and you give money back.
Correct.
What a great organization.
Well,
unheard of.
I mean, it's just us trying to do our part in the interest of philanthropy. That's all it is, and there's no. We don't have any motives other than to do what we do.
That's another thing,
and have fun doing it.
No, it sounds wonderful. I mean, all the work that you've done. I just think that you're the unsung fraternal organization of the city.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Because and they're all great, but we hear all about other groups' events, but you work quietly behind the scenes and apparently very effectively.
Yeah, we have a lot of great people that are sitting in officer positions as well as members positions who are rolling up their sleeves and quietly going about and having fun doing it. And that's the name of the game. Like we do the chapter has our annual Greek American golf tournament, which we hold in June.
We missed it. Okay.
And out of that,
news on those.
Yeah, and out of that, I mean, the money we get. we give back to the community.
Of course.
So I mean, we
do you meet regularly? Like
we have
clubs?
we meet, except for the summer. We meet from September through June, and then we take the summer off, and it's once a month for an hour on a Tuesday, a second Tuesday. And membership is actually open in the chapter. Membership,
I don't forget you.
Membership is open to anyone who believes in what we're doing, and you don't have to be Greek. Although
I was just going to ask, can Italians get involved?
Sure. We have several people, and I won't drop names, but Councilor Bevilacqua is a member.
Oh, well, there you are.
The council president, John Mitchison, who is half Greek anyways, is a member. So we have a lot of people,
Well, that's wonderful. So did you meet at a local restaurant? You meet at a house?
No, we have, in the AHEPA Apartments, the building was built with the 54 units, and the top third on the floor, the third is our office and our general meeting location.
So you have a conference
So that
room
was
type
built
thing.
in. That was part of the agreement with HUD to allow the chapter to build, the owner corporation to build an office and a meeting room. So we have a designated, room upstairs on the third floor.
Well,
so.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, we're actually looking at either starting an additional new property, a building.
Growing too.
Yeah, and or taking and perhaps moving our room out of the building to the side of the building and creating an additional building, adding a couple of more apartments, as well as storage for the building.
Well, it certainly sounds like there's demand.
Yeah.
How long is the waiting list?
About 2 years.
So about 2 years. That's.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how that compares to others, but it seems like a long time.
Well, it seems like a long time, but at the same time, people, will drop out, decide not to do that, and go someplace else. So you move up in the scheme of things.
Now, what is the? And maybe there is no general answer to this, but if you could pick a profile of an average resident, is it someone who a little bit older and needs to downsize?
Correct.
And
yes.
so maybe they go from home ownership. Or
home ownership to a place where they can downsize and have the social interaction. And the best part is, I can tell you, there's probably some of the ladies listening, who every morning have a coffee group in the thing, and I go in there and they beat on me,
okay.
and if you're listening, ladies, you owe me coffee. But it's great. So the camaraderie that's there, and everybody watches out for everybody. So, and that's one of the beauties about the management company. They're very proactive on that, and the social services coordinator.
If I recall, actually, now that you mention it, and maybe it was some of those ladies. Way back when, because when we were cable TV only, WHAV, before getting the new FM, we used to get requests for some of our oldies music from there.
Yeah.
And maybe they were doing it. And
probably.
It actually changed everything, because before 2007, and we've actually been working on this FM all these years, but before 2007 we had a more contemporary format, and we were getting calls for more of the Elvis and that kind of thing. So, wow, very good. I'm going to do a shout-out, too, to all of you down there. Do they have a radio? Do they need a radio?
Well, they're probably watching it on TV 22.
On 22, watching the show, too. Well, great. Then we'll say hello. All right. Let's talk about what is there a criteria that you use for awarding grants to groups like Haverhill Inner City Boxing or so on?
The Board of Directors will review of the foundation will review the letters received, and we have to have a letter. The foundation has to receive a letter from that organization, and it has to state what they need it for, as well as that they're a recognized 501c3, and then it's marked as the date received, and it goes into a group, and then the Board of Directors will vote on who gets what. So
you do this once a year?
It's not an endless, the foundation doesn't have an endless treasury.
No, I would imagine it's coming out of what you have.
I mean, there have been years when, we've issued 10 to 12 different organizations, but each got $250 or so, and, so...
a lot of groups, that probably makes a big difference.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like anything else. There has to be some kind of... order in order to process the thing.
No, I'm just thinking. So, what I was getting at is, so they don't have to be Greek organizations or anything. These are just community organizations.
We did the Asperger Works once, the Methuen.
Oh, wonderful people.
And we've done the Elder Services. We've done.
We had them. We've had both of those on the show so far.
Northeast Elder Transport.
Oh, all right.
So we've done community action. We've done the ones that you said today. Tonight. So that group has done a lot. And
you guys just do such wonderful work. And then, back to the apartments. Now, were you around during the construction?
No, actually, I was in law enforcement, so I was in the middle part of the state. I was on the academy staff, and I was getting close to considering retirement, and they got me to join the chapter, and the building was already built then. So
because it's beautiful. I mean, this is one neighborhood you hear no complaints about.
Right.
And I have to say, when they were moving the old Hale Hospital out of there were a lot of worries from neighbors around Buttonwoods and all those, because they didn't know what they would get.
Get it, correct.
And I think there were probably some people who thought nothing is better, but we learned that wasn't true. The old Hale building had been broken into, and it became a haven for all kinds of illicit activity. So you cleaned up the neighborhood. You put in something the city can be proud of.
Correct.
And, I hear no complaints. And that means there should be a lot of praise, because I'm afraid the noisy ones tend to be the ones who are complaining. And if they're happy, they're not complaining. So,
well, it's a nice place to live. I mean, it has what that individual needs. Otherwise, they'd leave.
Wow.
So obviously they're happy, and our goal is to make sure they remain happy. So as the owner corporation's president of the board, and that's one of my primary things. If there are issues, I'd like to know about it, and we'll address it. So it
sounds like you're doing a wonderful job, because I hear no complaints. And have you already had the cookout this summer?
No, that's coming up, and I can't say. I don't want too many people coming to
the
thing, but it's coming up.
You want just the residents to come. We don't want to have the whole city down there. Okay, you keep that in mind, Joe Bevilacqua. No, I'm kidding, Joe. You're a member. You're allowed, I think.
Yeah.
This has been very, very helpful. I always wondered about it and never had a chance to ask. So
sure.
This is very, very helpful. Anything you want to tell the audience? Otherwise, we're going to...
No, it's just that, we're just trying to make the world a little better place, the city. We're actually greater Haverhill, more than, strictly Haverhill. You've got to expand a little bit and service as much as you can. But, our primary function, is to, do what we do as quickly and as quietly as we do it.
Well, you've done a great job. Thank you for coming out on such short notice. But as I said, your PR guru, Phil Brown, sent all this news out, and suddenly I said, my goodness, we've got to talk about this. It's very timely. So really, thank you so much for coming out.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Open mic show. Actually, is that going to be for our guests? Oh, all right. See, that's why we didn't do this. So you see, they want to work in a call. So I'm going to give you a pair of headphones, and you'll be able to talk to the caller. So is this on your side, Chris? All right. I can hardly hear. Okay, so you are on the open mic show with Jim Tzitzon.
Yeah, I had to call up. I just walked in the door and I saw Mr. Tzitzon, because, he is,
you recognize his voice?
A well-respected man about town. How you doing, Jim?
Good. How are you?
Oh, well, not too bad. I'm surprised. I never knew what that building was.
See what
I
we do?
used to see it and see the name, and it's HEPA.
Yes.
Is that how do you get yourself enrolled into that? How do you get yourself
as a member?
Yeah, living there.
Oh, to live there. Well,
yeah.
You can call up the housing office down there at the HEPA building. Or you can drop by and and see her. I would call first because she's kind of busy, and she can talk to you and explain the process.
No, I was just wondering what the process was. I had no idea. But how you been?
Good.
You went to Walnut Square, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So you
Old Home Week here again.
Jimmy, you know who it is?
I'm trying to.
I
I'm
know
trying
who
to
you
place.
are.
He knows who it is.
You have the most distinctive voice outside of Groucho Marx.
Give me the first name.
You know, somebody from 19th Ave, I'll tell you that much.
All right, which would?
You want me to?
Hey, I don't have a trivia question either. I usually we have trivia questions for Kimball Tavern Antiques. He would have liked the one on the bowling alley. He could think about that one, Timmy.
All right.
You know that was a tough one. That was on for 6 months.
What, the bowling alley question?
Yeah. That was on quite a while.
Woody gives us trivia questions
Jimmy,
on
how
behalf.
you been? You all right?
I don't know.
You look good. You still got your sense of humor.
Yeah, I do.
I'm surprised we've never had you at the Walnut Square reunions.
Life gets in the way. Life is busy for a lot of people, so.
Well, we haven't had one in a while.
I know that, yeah.
Brother Pep does all the work, and it's a lot of work, and he had a knee operation a while back, 3-4 years, and while he was in Mass General, he happened to have a small...
Yeah, I know that. I know he was feeling... But he looked good the other day. I saw him the other day. Yeah, he looks good.
I am right now, I am the longest-running president of the Walnut Square Association.
Really? I did not know
and
that.
all I do is wear the jacket.
Well, listen, thanks for calling in.
All right, I'll let you guys go.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much.
And the next reunion, Jimmy.
All right.
We're going to get a hold of you.
Thank you.
And let us know if there's any more trivia questions coming from Kimball
There'll
Tavern
be,
Antiques.
and there's going to be a few big yard sales over Kimball Tavern this fall.
All right, thanks so much.
All right, have a good one.
Take
guys.
care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. All right, well, that is pretty good. Old Home. So we didn't even get you your old Walnut School history. We'll have to get that next time, and we'll make sure we get the principal's report and just check every day of your attendance. No, we'll do that. But thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Really, want to have you back. All right, we're going to take a break now. I don't know what we take a break for now, but for station identification probably. And then we'll be back with more of the Open Mic Show after that.
Open mic.
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
Stay informed each day with local news coupled with FSN's worldwide coverage. 97.9 WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source. There's always more at WHAV.net.
Catch the wave.
On air or online, 97.9 WHAV serves you. Twice an hour weekdays, keep up to date with exclusive local news. Find out about civic events on Community Spotlight every quarter hour. And better prepare with wave weather every 30 minutes. For talk, there's Open Mic Show Monday nights. In your hometown, Friday nights. Mass Moments, Melinda's Garden Moment, Soundbeat, and Insight Daily complete the spectrum. Hear classic comedy and drama 7 nights a week at 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. Finally, a unique blend of rock and roll hits round out the entertainment. Stay with 97.9 WHAV, the only Haverhill-based news source.
Catch the wave. WHAV. Open mic.
From the Edwin B. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Well, that was fun talking with Jim Tzitzon from AHEPA Acropolis 39, or is it 39 Acropolis? See, I'm already doing it, already getting it mixed up. But, it was interesting to learn about that, and it was interesting to have David Godswood on earlier to talk about the history of hospitals in Haverhill and how that site, the former, up until 1984, site of the Hale Hospital, and it became beautiful, 54 apartments. They're one bedrooms. They're not contributing to the schools. They are, in fact, meeting a need, meeting low-income seniors. So very, very happy to have met Jim Tzitzon and talked about this project. All right, now we're going to go to open lines for the rest of the program. And your calls, 978-374-1900. Just a reminder, we're taking September birthdays and anniversaries. All you have to do is call the program and wish someone a happy birthday or a couple a happy anniversary, and you can nominate yourself. Put your name in the hat, and you could win a 7-inch cake, choice of vanilla or chocolate, from Albie D's second-generation Italian bakery, 140 South Main Street in Bradford. And as you heard, we'll be getting a trivia question soon. We finally had to put to bed the last trivia question from Kimball Tarrant Antiques, corner of Salem and South Main Streets in Bradford. But usually that's a $10 gift certificate, and we'll come up with something, or they'll come up with something on that. If you kind of missed the last few weeks, the answer to the trivia question was there was a man, here's the question, there was a man who off Lowell Avenue seemed to collect hubcaps. And I don't know how much of this is myth or how much we've embellished, but apparently there was a big pothole near his house and people would lose hubcaps driving by. Not too many people with hubcaps these days. And he began collecting them, trading them, displaying them. And the question was, what was the man's first and last name and what was his nickname? Well, his nickname was Kista, and he was Charlie Asadorian. We actually had a person by email who had the correct answer, but in order to win any prizes here, you have to call the program, 978-374-1900. All right, yeah, you heard me talk about, perhaps you, if you were listening, you heard me talk about a couple of special programs that are coming up on WHAV. I want to talk about those. I mentioned, because Jim is a retired state police officer, but I mentioned WHAV has something coming up that I think is going to be a lot of fun in a few days called the Dog Days of Summer. Okay, that's just a cliche, but no, we're going to make it truly Dog Days. We're going to be saluting our canine heroes, and there are quite a few. A lot of area police departments have canines. Now, the city of Haverhill does not, but the city still uses them, whether it's from the state police canine units or there's a regional canine unit. We had a story unrelated to the series, but part of our news at WHAV last week about a canine named Duke in Methuen. So, but our canine heroes do much more than just go after criminals and find a scent, and that was the story last week from Methuen. The dog was able to trace the scent of someone who had left a robbery note at Market Basket in Tewksbury. Thought he got away with it, but the dog tracked him down. And but besides that, different kinds of dogs are used, and not just the German Shepherds, but different kinds of dogs. The State Fire Marshal's office uses one to sniff for maybe accelerants, things that might have started a fire in an arson investigation, or just to rule that out as a possibility. But they have been used to find missing children, to help perhaps a lost nursing home patient or something along those lines. So the canine heroes in WHAV's Dog Days of Summer. Some have also been used to detect explosives, uncover evidence, drugs, and weapons, and some canine heroes have even given their lives in the line of duty. So that's coming up. Now, if you work for a company that is interested in this in this promotion, we're also looking for sponsors. So feel free to call during the day, 978-374-1900. You can call during the show. Chris will take your information, but 978-374-1900, and it's going to be It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, another thing, it's funny. It's not that far away, so we're going to devote a couple of weeks to this coming up. But Atkinson, New Hampshire, is celebrating its 250th anniversary. Now, those of you who are in Atkinson, you know why that's special. If you're not in Atkinson, you're kind of like, well, why is that important? Well, if you live in Plastow, it's important to you because Atkinson was broken off from Plastow. If you live in Haverhill, it's important to you because Plastow was broken off from Haverhill. So Atkinson can trace its roots to the city of Haverhill. Now, David Goudswood, our open mic show historian, has already chimed in on this. Unless I make a terrible error, he can call or text me or email me and correct it. But New Hampshire as a colony back before the United States, but back during the British years, New Hampshire as a colony wasn't very successful. And Massachusetts gradually controlled the colony north. Matter of fact, I understand, my memory tells me anyway, that like the town of Dunstable, New Hampshire, now the town of Nashua, I'm already mixing it up, was New Dunstable, Massachusetts. But in any event, see, now that's where I'll need help. But in any event, the King of England settled the dispute by drawing the border following the Merrimack River, which is why the border is kind of strange looking. It's wobbly and curvy because it follows the Merrimack River. So Haverhill's North Parish neighborhood, which still exists. I live up in that area, but North Parish near the border with Plastow, well, it used to go across the border. And matter of fact, during the age of the witch trials, some of the areas that we talk about that are part of Haverhill are now parts of New Hampshire. So why should we celebrate Atkinson's 250th? Because in a way we're celebrating a little piece of Plastow and Haverhill. But in any event, here's a trivia question. I don't know if we have, well, actually, I guess we do have a couple of prizes here. We could find something. If you want a pair of earphones or headphones for your iPod or just your radio, your FM radio, don't spend too much time on this. But Atkinson, New Hampshire. What does Atkinson mean? Was it named after a town in England like Haverhill was? Tell me about the name Atkinson. First person with the correct answer will give you a pair of headphones. Oh, no, they're not very expensive. But they'll work. So 978-374-1900. We're just creating a question on the fly here. Anyway, Plastow, Atkinson was separated from Plastow in 1767, but of course goes all the way back to the founding of Haverhill. And even Haverhill's founding date is a little bit disputed. It's officially, I think, 1642, but we always celebrate 1640. But we actually didn't have a treaty with Native Americans until later. Legislature, as such as it was in the colony, didn't record it. So, but we generally use 1640. But Atkinson, when it traces its history, refers to Haverhill going back to 1642. Now, they're going to have all kinds of events. So what WHAV is going to do is have a series of specials about the events in Atkinson. We've already had a major story on it, but there's going to be fireworks and there's going to be a car show, all kinds of things. You can look it up at WHAV.net or listen more on WHAV. If anyone's in Atkinson listening, good FM coverage from WHAV there. Feel free to call in later tonight after the news if you want and tell us about some of the events. Otherwise, we're going to have a complete calendar of events, multiple daily stories about what's happening and where, and all of this will be wrapping up by Labor Day weekend in Atkinson, New Hampshire. All right, this will surprise Chris, but we're ready to go to local news. We'll be back with more of the Open Mic Show in just a couple of minutes.
Open Mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 8 o'clock.
WHAV LP Haverhill.
Here's what's happening in local news. City Councilor Mary Ellen Daly O'Brien wants answers about the bump outs that have been in place on Merrimack Street since May. The temporary seating areas at A1 Deli and Barrett Specialty Foods occupy parking spaces in front of the businesses. Daly O'Brien said she has questions about the future of the installations and has concerns about the safety of the seating areas that jut into the street. She is also concerned about the aesthetics of the Jersey barriers that surround the tables and chairs. The City Council is scheduled to discuss the bump outs when it meets Tuesday, August 8th. The meeting, which is open to the public, begins at 7 p.m. and takes place in the Theodore Pelosi City Council chambers on the second floor of Haverhill City Hall. In a recent blog post, Mayor James Fiorentini said the city is looking at new ways of treating the bump outs, which create areas for outdoor food service at downtown restaurants. The city recently installed a more permanent seating area in front of Wang's Table on Washington Street, Fiorentini said. One of 3 men arrested early Thursday night on heroin-related drug charges in Atkinson, New Hampshire, was arrested on similar charges last month in Haverhill. Timothy Howell, 30, of Ashland, New Hampshire, was arrested just before 7 p.m. Thursday by Atkinson police and charged with possession of heroin with intent to sell, transporting drugs in a motor vehicle, and an outstanding warrant for possession of drugs with intent to sell. As WHAV reported earlier, Howe was also arrested on drug charges early in July by Haverhill police on Arlington Street. He and Brett Bolig, 34, of Laconia, New Hampshire, were charged with 2 counts each of possession of drugs with intent to distribute and conspiracy to violate drug laws. At the time, Deputy Police Chief Anthony Hawk told WHAV the arrest came after police received reports of suspicious activity in the neighborhood. Besides Howe, arrested by Atkinson police after a routine car inspection violation, were Jamie D'Alessandro, 34, of Plymouth, New Hampshire, charged with possession of heroin with intent to sell, and an outstanding warrant for possession of heroin. And Jacob Spencer, 33, of Ashland, New Hampshire, charged with possession of methamphetamine. The Northeast Youth Music and Arts Festival, featuring 8 stages, 125 youth performances, art, food, speakers, and workshops, takes place next month at Northern Essex Community College. Organized by Haverhill-based nonprofit Color and Sound, the music talent being showcased ranges from award-winning young musicians who have portfolios lined with brands such as American Idol, The Voice, America's Got Talent, New Hampshire Pavilion, and Gillette Stadium, to beginner musicians who are just getting their feet on the ground and looking to gain experience. I created the NYMA Festival with a purpose to inspire young musicians or musicians who are just getting started, said Festival Director Jas Bianchi. The event also features Peggy Afrade, Strega Entertainment Group founder and former Radio Disney executive, and New England Emmy Award-winning musician Devin Ferrara, as well as visual artists, dancers, filmmakers, and other youth creatives. The Northeast Youth Music and Arts Festival takes place Sunday, September 10th from noon to 6 p.m. at Northern Essex Community College. All-day passes are $25, and family and group packages are also available. To purchase, visit nymafestival.com/tickets. Money raised will go to support youth and underserved populations through music and arts programming with events and activities that promote community involvement. In today's back-to-school countdown, this year's Haverhill High School freshman class will start the year with someone missing. Assistant Principal Daniel Faircloth, who for the last several years led the freshman academy, has taken a job in the Wilmington School District. Faircloth, who spent 17 years in the Haverhill schools, will start this school year as one of 2 assistant principals at Wilmington Middle School. For the bulk of his career, Faircloth was a special education teacher at the middle school level in Haverhill, spending a dozen years in that role. While at Haverhill High School, Faircloth spent 4 years running the YES program, a dropout prevention initiative that provided intensive support for at-risk students. The district is interviewing for a replacement. Freshman orientation is August 17th from 6 to 7 p.m. in the HHS gym. The school is at 137 Monument Street. Remember, WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source. There's always more at WHAV.net. In the Edwin B. Johnson newsroom, this is Tim Coco.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Rebecca Foster. The U.S. city of Chicago is suing the Trump administration over a clash related to undocumented immigrants. North Korea has vowed to retaliate after the UN slapped fresh sanctions on it over the weekend. And a U.S. aircraft that crashed, leaving 3 U.S. Marines presumed dead, has been located underwater off Australia's east coast.
Wave weather.
I'm WHAV meteorologist Gary Bess with wave weather. Periods of rain for the night, low temperature down near 60. Rain ending early Tuesday, then some afternoon sun, warming up to 74 to 78. Clear at night around 55 to 60. Sunny skies Wednesday and Thursday, nice then, dry air, high temperature, low 80s. This is Gary Best. Your next wave weather in 30 minutes.
This spot could have been yours. Support WHAV's local approach with your underwriting. Go to WHAV.net and click on advertising to reach thousands of new customers. Broadcasting on the Armstrong FM system, this is 97.9 WHAV.
Catch the wave, WHAV. Merrimack Valley. Open mic.
From the Edwin B. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Almost 8 minutes past the hour here at 97.9 FM WHAV. I'm Tim Coco, and this is the Open Mic Show. In Master Control, I like to give credit where credit is due. I don't give it enough. But we have Cindy Driver and our producer, Chris Porter. And now we're about to do an expose on Chris Porter. Chris actually has been holding out on us. He is a resident of Atkinson, New Hampshire. And, Chris, we're going to ask you some tough questions now. We're going to see if you can answer them.
Oh, boy.
All right. So, how long have you lived in Atkinson, New Hampshire?
I've lived there. Well, I moved to Massachusetts for a little bit when I was in high school, but most of my life I lived in Atkinson. And
Really?
I moved back, yes.
Oh, it's in your back there. All right. So, tell us about Dow Common.
I don't know much about it.
Do you know where it is?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So at least we've got you in the right area. And name. Let's see, a couple things around Dow Common.
I am really bad. I don't get out much.
One is the
Atkinson.
Atkinson Fire Department.
Oh, yes.
Now, what else is on that street?
The library is on that street.
What's the library called?
Atkinson Public Library. Oh, Kimball?
Kimball, okay.
Yeah, I remembered something.
So Chris wins the prize. That means he gets to come back next week and produce for nothing. All right.
A convenience store is on that street.
All right. What's the name of the convenience store? I'm not sure that I know either.
That I don't remember.
All right. But I took some pictures actually at Dow Common for this special, and it's very nice. There's a nice clock there. not unlike the one in downtown Haverhill or the one near Flowers by Steve that I think Steve Janovic has put up. So very, very nice. Atkinson Town Hall. It's got a clock on the roof as well. And for those of you who are wondering what I'm holding up, if you're on television, it's our flyer. Atkinson celebrates 250, an exclusive presentation of WHAV News. All right, Chris, that wasn't so bad, was it?
No, not really.
Not really at all. So Chris is a prominent resident of Atkinson, New Hampshire, right here on WHAV. Cindy, do you ever live in Atkinson?
No, I've never lived there.
All right, so we'll do a poll. Any others in Atkinson? Give us a call tonight. The first caller from Atkinson will get earbuds. 978-374. 1900 978-374-1900. We have earbuds to give away, and they were given to us. So you can't say it's the biggest thing, but if you win, we'll have it at the front counter, and you can pick it up at WHAV Studios. In any event, okay, we've gone about as far as we can with that. We were talking earlier in the program about hospitals in Haverhill, and of course that was inspired by the fact that AHEPA 39 Apartments is on the site of the former, at least the main buildings of the Hale Hospital. And the city got into the hospital business. David Goswood helped us out with this. Got into the hospital business, at least the Hale Hospital business, in, I think, 1931, when the Board of Trustees was named by the city. And does anyone know who Hale is? Anyone know who Hale is? Why it was named? And what other prominent buildings was Hale involved in Haverhill? All right, so we have all kinds of stuff going on here. So, and I think the phones are starting to light up already. So, who was the Hale of Hale Hospital, and what other buildings was Hale involved in? He was a philanthropist, so one of Haverhill's best. So there's something for you right here on the Open Mic Show. Another check the message board. Oh yes, okay. Was that David? David always puts stuff there, and because he wants to test that I'm watching the message board, which I wasn't. So he's right. He's right. So the message board at whav.net. Oh, wait a minute. Does it have to be approved? See, that's another thing. It might have to be approved. And now I have to do two things at once, which is very, very complicated. Let me see how we do that. See, it's very, very complicated stuff. But I wonder why the message board rejects David. That's a complicated one. And oh, by the way, next week I want to point out while we're doing this, we're going to be having our friends from the Haverhill Cultural Council on the program. They are going to be talking about the upcoming round of Cultural Council grants. And we have Allison Colby Campbell, who's been on the program before, and Lumby Tashi. Let's see if I have that right. Lumby Tashi from the Haverhill Cultural Council, and Allison Colby Campbell here next week on the Open Mic Show. All right, now we have, all right, not approved yet, but here is some information from David Goudswood. Rye and Dover were the first settlements in New Hampshire in 1623. Settlement was slow and confined to the seacoast, although there were settles as deep inland as Nashua. From 1642 to 1679 and 1690 to 1692, those settlements in New Hampshire were governed by Massachusetts. The New Hampshire-Massachusetts border was established in the 1740s, which was a bitter fight, according to our Open Mic Show historian David Goudswood. Haverhill had been granting land up beyond Hampstead, Massachusetts, and kept Maine. How awful. And the border between Mass and New Hampshire extended out into the Isle of Shoals. 1820 is when Maine was separated, which is why Isles of Shoals are split between Maine and New Hampshire. All right, those of you watching WHAV.tv will approve David's comments, and I don't know why he isn't automatically approved. We're going to give him special permissions since he's staff, another unpaid staff member here. But we'll do that. So we'll approve that comment. That is now on the site. And, of course, David's last comment is still there from a couple of weeks ago. The Locomotive Act of 1865, known as the Red Flag Act, was a British law requiring self-propelled vehicles to be led by a pedestrian waving a red flag or carrying a lantern to warn bystanders of the vehicle's approach. Now, David has just all kinds of trivia at his fingertips. Apparently probably has one of the biggest volume libraries in his part of Florida. It all came from this area. All right, thank you very much, David. All right, we're going to take a break for Community Spotlight. Before we do, let me remind you that you or someone you care about could win a free 7-inch cake, choice of vanilla or chocolate, from Albee D's second-generation Italian bakery, 140 South Main Street. All you have to do is call the Open Mic Show, wish someone a happy birthday or a couple a happy anniversary that is celebrating in September. We work 1 month ahead, and they could be the winners during the September drawing the last week of September. 978-374-1900. We'll be right back.
Open mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
Those Boston stations don't always understand weather in the Merrimack Valley. Stay informed with Wave Weather every 30 minutes, 24 hours a day on Soft Gold WHAV.
Using WIC is easier than ever. Now you can use the WIC card instead of checks for your food purchases. WIC is a free nutrition program that helps working families stretch their food budget and make healthy choices. WIC helps families learn to shop for nutritious foods and offers resources like online nutrition education and an app to make shopping easier. Visit us online at mass.gov/WIC to find out if you qualify. This message is brought to you by the Massachusetts Department of Public Health's WIC Nutrition Program.
For more information locally, call the WIC office at Community Action at 978-374-2191.
Community Spotlight.
Friday nights are for live music. The Haverhill Cultural Council and First Church of Christ are teaming up to present 2017's Bradford Common Outdoor Music Series. Shows begin at 6 p.m. on the Common, and attendees are encouraged to bring a blanket and lawn chairs to get comfortable to enjoy the music on August 11th of Mike Fioretti Band, with an opening performance by Bob Kramer Trio. For more information, call 978-590-2119. Someone you know is on WHAV. To submit or read your own nonprofit announcements, click on the Contact tab at whav.net or email news@whav.net. In the Edwin V. Johnson newsroom, this is Robin Fancher.
WHAV Open Mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
And we're back here on the Open Mic Show. We used to say a 50-year staple of democracy, but must well be into the 60s by now. We'll talk more about that. David Goudswood has sent me some type of photograph. I'm not quite sure yet what it is, and if I can figure that out, we'll get it online. But let's take a birthday caller first. You are live on the Open Mic Show.
Well, hello there.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm just fine. Yourself, sir?
Good. So you're calling in a birthday wish?
I most certainly am.
Wonderful. Have you called the show before?
I have not. I've been listening.
Well, welcome. Welcome.
Maybe 2 months.
Well,
And,
welcome.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you.
All right. So whose birthday is it? Just first name.
The first name is Jane.
Jane.
Yep.
All right. And Jane's birthday is when?
September 5th.
September 5th. Okay, our producer has put Jane's name in the hat, and Jane becomes eligible to win a free 7-inch cake, choice of vanilla or chocolate, from Albidi's second-generation Italian bakery. And do you know where that is?
I most certainly do. It's about a stone's throw from here.
Oh, great. So 140 South Main Street. All right, are you a longtime resident, a newcomer, passing through?
I've been here for maybe 4 years now.
Well, welcome. Welcome very much. I hope you're listening to 97.9 WHAV on your car radio when you can.
Indeed, I do.
All right. We put people on the spot like that. That's how we grow our listenership. All right. All right. Well, thank you very much for participating. Welcome to WHAV.
Well, thank you.
Any other comments while we have you?
No. Although there was mention, oh my gosh, within the last 10 minutes or so, about a meeting, city council meeting about the pop-outs.
Yes, it was on our news. That's
restaurants. Right. Yeah, and I gotta say, although I love the idea of al fresco dining, because they are right in the road itself, I just don't know how enjoyable it would really be. I don't know. I have not seen very many people taking advantage of those.
Do you know why they're there? I can help with that.
Well, I thought it gave the restaurants a chance to look a little more approachable, as it were, and give them a chance to have a little more seating, especially when the weather is very nice.
Yeah, what happened is back in May, a person named Noah Koretz, he's on kind of on loan to Haverhill from Mass Development in Boston, and he came up with this concept called Build a Better Block. And the idea was you'd close Merrimack Street one Saturday afternoon, and you would transform it, and there would be pop-up shops, and they would be these little jut-outs, as they are. And the idea was that, well, when there's no traffic on the street and the street is closed, that makes perfect sense. But the people who got them thought, hey, why don't we just keep them for the rest of the summer? And therein lies the problem. The city had to put Jersey barriers in front of them to hopefully protect people in case of a worst case. And well, that's what we are, and we're gonna learn more about that tomorrow night on the city council, and you'll get all the news Wednesday morning on WHAV about what happened and why. What do you think about the concept like on Washington Street where they're actually physically built into the sidewalk?
Where the sidewalk has been designed for it, I think it works better because generally with a wider sidewalk, there's a barrier between the street, the traffic, and the patrons, because wider sidewalk, they do tend to keep the tables toward the restaurant, not, just so there's room on the sidewalk for people to actually walk.
No.
So I think it's fine there.
Good points. And I think they also have some of those, I don't know what they're called, they're kind of decorative barriers. So that if a car were to go up over the curb, first of all, they have to hit granite, which will probably stop most cars.
Should stop them, yes.
But then there's these things. Very good observation. Well, we'll find out more when the city council meets, and you'll be hearing about it on WHAV. Great topic. Thanks for calling the show, and happy birthday to Jane.
And thank you for having a show like this.
Well, I certainly appreciate that kind comment, and just please feel free to call back anytime we're on. We'll love to have you on.
Super. I'll keep that in mind. Now, you take care. Have a lovely night.
You too. Thank you so much. All right, another caller here on the Open Mic Show. 4-year resident of Haverhill. Chris, can you take that down? Okay. So that's very good. Well, we're about 6 minutes before the end of the show. We can squeeze in another caller if anybody wants to comment on anything, perhaps as that listener did. Councillor Mary Ellen Daly O'Brien, as if you've been listening to WHAV News or reading it at WHAV.net, has raised this matter. I think everyone meant well with it, but yeah, maybe we could do a better job with those, and I think that's sort of the prevailing opinion, and this is an opinion show. You don't hear opinions on the news, and that's for a reason. So if you want to ask about that, 978-374-1900. All right. Okay. David Goudswood now explains who this person is. How can I get this to Chris? It's really too complicated with a few minutes left of the show. Maybe next week we'll show this beautiful painting that David Goudswood had that relates to our topic of Atkinson, New Hampshire. 250 years young, and again, once part of Plastow, which itself was once part of Haverhill. David Goudswood just gave us an excellent history of that, and if you were listening, you've heard it all. I've already forgotten some of the details myself, but a long story where Massachusetts controlled New Hampshire. That'll annoy some people if it ever was repeated, I guess, but we'll see. In any event, Atkinson is celebrating its 250th anniversary, August 21st through Labor Day. Now, they're a little worried about me talking about their big fireworks celebration because the town can only handle so many people, but it is going to be one of the biggest ones the area has seen in some time. So we're certainly willing to look at that. WHAV expects to have some type of a table or booth or something at I think it's called the Vintage Fair. But David Goudswood does summarize it from 1642 to 1679 and 1690 to 1692. The New Hampshire settlements were governed by Massachusetts. And the border was established in the 1740s, so 30 years before the Revolution, which was a bitter fight, and Haverhill had to give up land that went all the way up beyond Hampstead. Now, of course, Massachusetts kept Maine, but that was bound to be a problem when it was kind of hard to get there, from contiguous land when you take New Hampshire out, and so that was an issue. But you see how all of these things are related in WHAV's listener area? Well, I thought you did. All right. Coming up, I hope you have tuned in to Mark LeMay's program Friday nights. It's called Your Hometown. It's on at 6:30, and it repeats at 11:30 at night. So if you're still in the car getting back from work or have some errands to run, you can always catch the repeat at 11:30. But it's a great program called Your Hometown. Very, very personal stories of different newsmakers and even others you may never have heard of, but offer such great insight into our lives. And now, some recent guests have included former Methuen Mayor Bill Manzi, former Haverhill Mayor John Guerin. We've had educators from Northern Essex Community College, all kinds of very interesting people. So you want to listen to Your Hometown here on WHAV 6:30 Friday nights with Mark LeMay. Mark is actually one of a handful of people that go back to the original HAV, and now that we're on the new FM 97.9, Mark remains with us. You also hear Mark's voice about every 15 minutes here on the station. He's the one who does those announcements like WHAV is on Facebook or that kind of thing. In the couple of minutes we have left, I want to thank the many members or the new members of WHAV. They have signed up in droves since Tom Bergeron was here, so thanks go out to Tom Bergeron, who urged people to support their hometown station where Tom himself got his start in 1972. And you can hear Tom every now and then on the station asking people to express their support with a WHAV membership or to make a contribution. There's plenty of information at WHAV.net. It's like a newspaper subscription, except a lot more news. Go to WHAV.net, listen to the hourly news during the day at WHAV. There's an 11 o'clock edition for those of you who've missed it during the day. So there's plenty of things, and you can support it all at WHAV.net. I think we're gonna wrap it up here. To Chris's surprise, we're going to wrap up the program. Probably TV will cut us off during the closing pictures, but come back next week for open mic when we have members of the Haverhill Cultural Council here. Have a good night.
Open mic.
Join Tim Coco live on the Open Mic again next Monday night at 6:30. The opinions expressed on the Open Mic show are not necessarily those of WHAV, its underwriters, or affiliated stations. The Open Mic show came to you from the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom.
It's 8:30.